Yeah, two.
You have two.
Yeah, boy
So
and girl.
they went back to school all that already lah.
Yeah, they started going back to school, but well, then again, I think there's an article in the newspaper today that the senior minister for education is considering the next phase of RMCO, whether or not to actually continue operating schools or to extend further closures, because
Oh,
they found a case over in Sabah. Yeah,
what
so
case is that?
COVID-19. One of the students that came to school was infected with COVID-19. So basically, I guess that in itself put a little bit of fear that it might spread throughout the school system. So therefore,
Mm.
the ministry is considering whether or not to re-implement closure.
Okay, okay, okay. But yeah, but now it's supposed to be holidays also, right? Or not?
No, I think the holidays are shifted. The next 3 or 4 days will be holidays for the kids,
Hmm.
Raya, but otherwise they'll be going back to school thereafter. And I think
Okay.
school holidays has been shortened quite a bit this year,
Hmm.
or well taken in advance, however you want to look at it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
are they going to replace all the days that they didn't go to schools? Are they going to replace those months? How are they going to do
Mm.
that?
Well, yes and no. As like I
Yes.
said, I mean, towards the end of the year, normally you have about 1.5 months of school holidays, right?
Yeah.
Now I think for December they've reduced it to 2 weeks.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so they've taken away a month. I guess they replaced as much as they could.
Yeah.
Probably not the entire session which they have missed.
So they
Yeah.
just brought forward the school holidays lah.
Well, brought forward, not really brought forward, they shortened it.
Hmm.
Oh, okay.
Too bad for the
Yeah,
kids.
yes. Well, not so much for the kids. I think the kids probably won't be complaining as much. It's the parents and the teachers.
Right.
Yeah.
How are you coping at home with the kids?
Well, I think it wasn't so bad for me. I guess even with the lockdown, there's still a need to go out occasionally
Mm.
to get groceries and food and whatnot. I think the first week, if I can remember, the first week of RMCO was while we try not to go out, you still have to go out at least once a day, right?
Right.
Um,
Okay.
you don't know what's missing in your fridge. You don't know what you need to stock up or what you have forgotten to buy. So you basically go out for say 4 or 5 days in the first week.
Hmm.
Thereafter, then as you beginning to get used to the idea, then slowly you from 4 or 5 days every day, then it breaks down to maybe every 2 days once, and then the next thing you know, you can't remember when was the last time you actually went out.
Sounds like it. Okay, now let me introduce. I'm Leong from Crown. I'm the editor from Crown Malaysia, and with me tonight I have my two colleagues from Singapore, Alvin and Melissa. Please welcome them.
Hi guys.
Yeah, this happened to be my first live chat, and we have a special guest tonight, and his name is SK Teh. Some of you may know him, some of you may not, but he is the GM for the Hourglass Malaysia. So please welcome him. He's been a
So
yeah. I think SK and I known each other for quite a while now, isn't it?
I
For
think
nearly
so.
10 years or
At least,
more, maybe.
at
Yeah,
least.
scary, isn't it?
10 years. Wow.
Yeah, I know. So, SK, tell us about before you came onto the watch industry.
Right.
Were you an IT guy, or were you working in IT division or something?
Well, I dabbled a little bit into IT, but I
Ah,
think very so. Well, I guess to a large extent, I have been a retailer, if I can say that, for the longest time.
right.
And to a large extent, in the Malaysian context, at least, I think I grew up in retail,
Oh,
right?
right. Okay.
Well, I think my first journey, I would say a journey in that sense, when I first started, my first step was probably in 1989 and 1989, 1990 when I first joined retail. But over the years, I've gone from one spectrum or one section of retail to another, and over time, then after a while, I guess I went out retail, try something else, and
Uh-huh.
IT. I guess IT was one of the an interest, and which I tried to do something a little bit more with, right? But of course, I think eventually, I think retail is what I know best, what I love best, and next thing I know, here I am.
Right. Okay. So, what do you like about retail? Tell us.
I think a lot of things in retail is I think the first thing you love about retail is ever changing, right?
Right.
Something remains constant every day, right? Whether you're on the floor, yeah, you have certain routines that you need to do, but basically every day, every hour of the day, the people you meet are different, right? To be able to engage with different people, to deal with different people, all walks of life, and again, of course, the different products that you deal with each and every day. I think that is something very interesting that keeps people in retail.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So how do you stumble into the watch industry though? Curious.
I guess like a lot of things by accident, and of course with opportunity given to me, right? I came into the industry I think about 13 years ago. Prior to that, I was also in retail, but overseeing the cigar business over in Malaysia.
Okay.
Um, right. I think watches has always been very much an interest, right? And when the
Mm.
opportunity came, I think it's something that I don't have to think twice, right? I jumped at it, and looking back, 10 years passed just like that. That things that's been happening in the watch industries, and I think I've been through some of the changes. And while products may not change as much sometimes,
Mm.
but I think if you look at it, with our yearly trips to Basel and Geneva, time passes very fast. Yes.
Mm.
Right. Were you interested in watches before you joined the trade?
Oh yes, of course. I
Mm.
think I think like most guys, right? When you look at watches, right? A mechanical movement per se.
Mm.
How you transform something like, for instance, a Big Ben, a clock tower, into something so small, to miniaturize it all the way down and to be able to put it on your wrist. I think the idea of something like that, the idea to be able to convert something so big into something so to minimize it in a way where you can actually wear it on your wrist is the concept in itself is interesting. It's not just about the what goes into making the movement, but the concept itself. I think is also a key component of the interest.
The idea that someone even thought to, miniaturize a big movement like that and put it on your wrist. Yeah, that's quite amazing.
Correct. I mean, the thought and the ability to do so, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. So, do you remember your first watch?
Oh, yes, I do. In fact, the first watch I ever bought was a Bomb and Mercier, right?
Ah, a
Which
very
I would
unusual
say
brand to
my
start
first
with.
yeah, it's my first real watch. My first real watch, I think, it's something that I bought myself. It's over the years that I've been working. My first entry to so-called watchmaking world, right? I wanted a watch that, of course, suits my budget. A watch that represents a lot of so-called the watchmaking world, and Baume falls into that category. It is a watchmaker, right? They've been a known watchmaker for a long time, and I stumbled upon something which captures my sight, right? It's a Caitlin chronograph, but I still have the watch. I'm not wearing it today, but I still have the watch. Stainless steel bracelet, right? And it's still working well.
Right. Has your taste in watches changed over the years since?
I wouldn't say change. I think more of evolving, with what I am exposed to. I guess I have the privilege to be exposed to a lot of watches on a daily basis or even a yearly basis. So it's evolving. But for me, watch collection personally, the goal is to collect the different complications available or the different types of watch
So one
available.
of every complication.
Yes.
Wow.
What do you have
Oh.
a minute repeater? I want to know. I want to see your minute repeater.
Well, I'll let you know when the day comes. It's still a dream. Yeah, but yes.
Yeah. So, what kind of a watch do you personally appeal apart from buying every movement, every complications you have? But which one most appeals to you most? Sort of a
Uh,
everyday watch or whatever. No.
Well, I think I have different watches where you wear for different times, right? Yeah, I don't have any particular favorite. I think, but more importantly, I think every watch or most of the watch that I bought is to basically something as a reward to oneself.
Mm.
You know, financially done over this period. You know, I think it's time that I reward myself with a watch.
So
Yeah.
true. It's like your baby, isn't it?
I mean, that's the thing about watches, they're so personal, and they always tell a story about your life, like milestones that you might have crossed and all that. So, I mean, I think that's a really great thing that all of us who are in the watch industry can appreciate.
Yes, most definitely.
Sorry, Alvin, what were you going to say?
I was just looking at comment, and Jeremy says you never walk alone. Are you a Liverpool fan, SK?
Well, I don't follow EPL so much. I don't follow EPL so much, but if there's a team that I would support, it would be Liverpool. Yes.
Oh,
Okay, well, congratulations. Congratulations, Jeremy.
Oh, they just won, right?
Pardon?
Yes.
They
They
just
just
won.
won,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, they could actually hold the cup, rightfully hold the cup this year. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, to tell a joke, every time you go to an event or sometimes to the pub, when the EPL is playing, the MC, whoever will start announcing, is it, to all the Liverpool fans, please hold up your cup because that's the only cup you're going to hold this year.
That's terrible. Now look who's laughing now, right?
Yeah.
Well, Selena calls you Tylo, so hi,
Hi,
Selena.
Selena.
So you are Tylo in the Malaysian watch trade.
Well,
Right,
we worked together for a long time, some time ago. Yes.
right. So can I ask you to put on your retail hat now, because you say retail is ever changing. So
Yes.
first time buyers who always want to buy a new watch, do they always face the same kind of considerations, you think?
I think most of them do, right? I think, but more importantly, I think it's about identifying the type of watch that you like to buy, right? And I think today is also important that first-time buyers actually do a little bit of research on the thing you want, and a lot of times it has to do with the brand, right? While you may appreciate or you think you appreciate a certain brand, I think it's important for you to know it a little bit better. There's a lot of information available online. In fact, even if you walk to any one of the luxury retail watch shop, you can actually sit down with a retail consultant to actually, go through one by one. We'll be more than happy to assist.
Okay.
But I guess the key point, which a wise man once told me, is always if you really like something, buy what you like. To the with the with the well, with a certain budget in mind, of course. But if you can push it always a little bit more, right?
What do you mean push it a bit more?
Budget. You set aside a budget to buy a
Always
watch.
get a better watch. Yeah.
If you have, if it's not too much, if it doesn't break the bank, to get the next best thing, then please do. And you appreciate over time, and I think you will thank yourself, when you look back. Yeah.
Okay. So if you think that you can have a few more months or a year to sort of put a bit more money into the bank to go in for, a model or brand that's a bit higher, just be patient and wait and do it.
Yes, I think buying watches. Well, I guess some people look at it as an investment, right? To some extent, it can be considered as one. But I think more importantly is something you buy something you appreciate, something that you like, something that you would wear, right? And it's a statement, not just for you to show to people, but a statement to yourself. A milestone, as what you mentioned earlier, a milestone. Something to remember why you buy this watch. And I think very much so it's important that when you buy a lot of things, especially for watches, because it will last you a lifetime. Or if you take good care of it. And it's good to be able to look back and say, this watch represents this part of my life.
Yeah, I totally agree, because when I save up money to buy a watch, it also shows me okay, I actually work hard, to actually
Earn that
acquire the
watch.
funds to get the watch,
Yeah.
and then that is a reminder of how how hard I work. You know, it is sometimes it is people say it is a status symbol, but it's like a milestone or a marker in my life. So I actually buy the watch to remind myself of how hard I've worked to actually get to the point in life. Yeah,
It's more meaningful that way, isn't it? Really?
yeah.
Of course.
Everybody's talking about this inevitable question or situation. Like how's the market now affected by the pandemic kind of thing? With the economy around the world is like sliding down slowly. How is Malaysian watch industry coping with it?
I think I can say that we are quite fortunate in that sense. I think in Malaysia, in the luxury retail, whether it's watches, leather goods, and everything else, we are very much a domestic market. And I think while we have seen, certain people who are a bit more careful with their spending, but on the other hand, because of the restriction in travel, people are not able to travel out, more new faces or new clients coming into the shop. So in that sense, it kind of balances things out for us. While we are still trying to get back to where we are, I think we won't be too far off. So I think in Malaysia we're quite fortunate in that sense, and there's also quite a lot of our clients or friends that have been saying that Malaysia or we're going through this hard time. Some companies may be facing certain difficulties, constraints, and very much we should be doing our part to support the economy. So if they are able to buy or continue to buy things, they definitely will in order to support us, everyone else. It's a good cycle for us to be in.
Right. Okay. You mentioned about domestic market. Was it something that has always existed, or did you have to grow the domestic market to what it is today?
Well, of course, I think Malaysia, the big part of our business in Malaysia are very much domestic. But I think to some extent, possibly we have grown a little bit during the COVID-19 situation. Where with the travel restriction, a lot of people can't travel out to buy. To satisfy that craving for retail therapy, we are here to assist.
Travel within Malaysia is not restricted, is it?
No longer. I think we opened up about a month ago, and we were able to travel to other states. We were able to do cuti Malaysia, as we say it here, and as well as traveling to other states to buy.
Oh,
so
okay.
we're seeing more of our clients coming into KL from other states, and it's always been good to catch up with them.
Yeah, that's good to know, because like in Singapore, we're facing the opposite problem. Our market is reliant on visitors, tourists to come and buy the watches, and with these travel restrictions that we still have in place, is harder for watch retailers in Singapore.
Right.
Because our domestic market is so small.
recover.
Even if like people buy in Singapore, it's not enough. So it's very encouraging, what you're sharing on the watch retail industry in Malaysia.
Well, it is. I mean, I think it's not only unique to the watch retail scene, but I think overall luxury has been enjoying it as well. So, I've been hearing from friends from the of luxury retail in Malaysia that they've been seeing new faces, they've been seeing a lot of new clients coming in, to satisfy their cravings. Yeah.
I've been locked down for so long.
Yes, that's probably helped us a little bit as well.
Revenge spending, right? That's what they call it.
That's right. I like that.
Is it a real thing? Is it a thing? Revenge spending?
I think there are some people who does that, after being cooked up for about a month or so, almost 2 months. It's good to be able to come out and, so-called indulge yourself in some therapy.
That's true. My life is too short. You better spend now.
We hope the citizens in Singapore will feel the same way too. Please come out and spend money.
By the way, do you think Malaysian market, right, over the years, the taste in their watches, have they changed, or they're still very much focused on the same sort of?
I think there are different segments that look at
Ah,
watches, different brands differently, right? Of course, the long-standing known brands remain strong, right? You have the brands like Rolex's Patek, which always will be and still is on top. This remains to be the two key brands that people look for, and and there are also other areas where sport chic is also one of the areas where is quite popular within Malaysia and to some extent I think Southeast Asia.
ah,
Brands like Hublot, AP, you know, and then, of course, you have other areas where you look at where more niche market where you have the independent brands, right? So this, I think, different segments has grown over time in tandem to a large extent, and well, maybe because the size of population or the growing economy has helped develop people to be able to, afford a little bit more luxury in their life. Yeah.
Mm, mm, okay. So when it comes to, say, you're talking about all these longevity, everlasting brands, Rolex and Patek is still at the top of the list. So
So
if
definitely,
I want to buy every time when people who don't have a first watch ask me what kind of watch to buy, right?
right.
Just go and buy Rolex first, and then after that you build on other things. Would you give the same advice?
Well, yes and no, but I think very much so it depends on the individual, right? Some people may not be so, may not see Rolex as their first watch. They may see Rolex as something that they want to have within their collection, but it may not be now, right? So is buying truly what you like at this point in time, just wearing a wrist and, walk out the door and be happy. I think that is first and foremost more important, right? Then as you gradually move along, buying different watches, then perhaps you reach one point in your life and you say, yeah, at this point in time, I should buy a Rolex or I should buy a Patek.
Mm.
Right.
Well, you started with a Bond and Mercier, right? So
I did.
that's a good start.
Actually, I started with the Bond and Mercier too. That was my
Oh, wow.
first
really?
serious watch. Yeah, it was a quartz
Right.
Bond and Mercier.
Okay.
Yeah.
So another question, yeah, during the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
They sort of like their pattern of buying has changed, whether like going online or going to the store. Does
Not
that
so much
affect?
in Malaysia. Actually, not so much in Malaysia. I think we have a very good website where we answer a lot of inquiries, and we do get a lot of inquiries via online during the pandemic, during the lockdown period. But very much so in terms of purchasing, I think a lot of our clients or the people we see or meet still prefer to be able to walk into our stores to try on the watch before actually spending. So while I guess to a large extent is we are probably evolving in terms of our the way business is being done, but for sure I think for foreseeable future brick and mortar will definitely be here. Online component is definitely something that will complement our business.
For also like for a lot of first-time buyers, right? A lot of people walk into watch stores. Certainly for me,
Right.
I feel a bit intimidated going to a watch store, not knowing a lot because you're buying a watch for the first time. So,
Right.
In your experience, what can be done on your side to actually address the so-called like fears or the apprehensions that first-time buyers have walking into a luxury watch store?
Well, not. I think it's a problem that's not unique to watches, right? It's probably something that we see across most luxury brands. I think importantly, if you're interested in buying a watch or anything in the matter, I think be prepared. Just walk in, right? Ask a lot of questions. I think if you are honest and be honest about your intention, that you just want to find out a little bit more of about the watches before actually committing to anything. Most of the real guys on the ground will be more than happy to assist. Yeah.
Okay. Because there's always this barrier because it's like an expensive product, and then like what you said, whether it's a watch or a pair of shoes or leather bag, the environment itself is luxurious, and then you feel almost okay. Usually when people go in, right, they want to check the price. right?
Of course.
And they want to check the options, and they are not ready to commit, especially if it's a high value product. You
Right.
know, that is for, I guess, most people, unless you're like super rich
Right.
customer lah. So that's the experience that most people, I guess, generally have going into high-end watch or luxury watch store. Yeah.
Well, if I can give any advice, don't be shy. Go in, ask questions, take a look around. Our guys are around, or every retail consultant out there, be it watches, luxury handbags, will be more than happy.
Yeah.
We've got a question from Li Sheng. He's asking, can first-time buyers really go for Rolex though? Because most entry-level Rolex watches are not available in store. What do you
That's
think?
not true, right? you can.
Not quite true. I think, of course, you can always buy, walking to the stores and check available. I think for Rolex at this point in time, well, I think they are also trying to meet the demand that consumer wants. Not forgetting that there was also a bit of a lockdown in Switzerland where production actually stopped for about a month and
Right.
a half. It takes time to get things back to where they were. And even then, prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, I think the demand for Rolex was at all-time high.
Mm.
So while we cannot be able to supply to every person that walks into a store with a watch that they would like to have, we'll definitely try our best.
I think we need to qualify a bit also, because a lot of times in the media, right, when we write about watches, when we write about luxury watches, we use the word affordable. When we say
Right.
affordable, what is an affordable watch? The word affordable means different things to different
To
people.
different people, yeah.
Yes, and especially for us, because we work in a space dealing with luxury watches, we are guilty of using the word sometimes in the wrong context.
Mm.
Right.
So entry level watch could mean a 5,000
Different
ringgit
things,
watch,
yeah.
right? It could mean a 2,000 ringgit watch. It could mean a 10,000 ringgit watch. So
Yes.
yeah, so there, I mean, there is a little bit of a calibration here. So back to the point when I was saying about go for a Rolex as a first watch.
Right.
In my experience, was like you have brand equity. The brand is well known. You know how well made the watch is, and so on and so forth. So if you were
Yeah.
to save up to a certain level and you are willing to spend like, I don't know, maybe 20 Malaysian ringgit, 20K,
Right.
you can actually go for a few Rolex models,
Yeah. Of course.
right?
Of course.
So that was just to answer
Yeah.
your question about the context of what is entry level and first time buying a luxury watch means.
Right.
Yeah. Hmm.
We're getting quite a number of comments here. Just one from Chiao-Ming. Malaysia government has just announced the extension of the moratorium by 3 months yesterday. Do you foresee any shift of demand from the top range segment to medium range segment in the next 6 months?
Well, I guess I think the loan moratorium the government just announced probably is very targeted. I think the banks will be more affected by this than with us, right? Whether that will actually help in to elevate the business that we're doing, I can't say for certain, right? But very much so, yeah, because it's a very targeted and it's going to the people who supposedly need it more than others. So again, I can't qualify myself to answer that question fully. Yeah.
Mm. Okay, one last question before we go.
Before we move on to other
before
things.
we move on to another one. Okay, how do you think the future of retail in watch business? Do you think, or maybe even applies to luxury? Do you see foreseeable future there will be a big change in retail patterns?
Well, I think there is definitely going to be a change, right? It's a question of how we are going to adopt the digital strategy. It's not so much online per se at this point in time. I think we are already evolved beyond that. While you can have how to create an online presence which will complement our business or any retail business, right? Brick and mortar is still definitely relevant. I think we have seen that many times before. Even the likes of some big online retailers like Amazon and even Google, for that matter, has also experimented that with the brick and mortar. And they found while it's good online, it does help to have a presence, the real presence in the real world. So, question going forward for us, I think very much is how the adoption of digital is going to complement our business. And I think, and it's not so much one size fits all. I think different countries' requirement for digital to complement the business is very different. So I think each and every country has to know what the consumer wants, the behavior like, and how we are going to create the online presence to blend in together with our existing structure, right? How you create a business over in Singapore, digital business over in Singapore, how you create that presence to complement it in Singapore, probably different here in Malaysia, right? Malaysia, way you do it in Malaysia is very different. It's going to be very different from, say, Australia, where geographically is even more diverse. So the adoption is going to be, well, the changes is definitely going to be there. How we are going to adopt it and how we are going to fit into the entire business, I think that is a question that we are still trying to find out. And I don't foresee that there will be one solution, right? And probably not a solution, one solution that will last all the time. And this has to be ever changing.
I guess this is also maybe not just specific to the watch industry, but for many other industries also, even F&B industry, like with what is happening, you just, there's no choice but to be forced to evolve and adapt to the new climate, people going online and looking at stuff. But back to just specific to the watch industry, in our Singapore experience, the appetite for buying stuff online reaches a certain point, like a certain price point of watches. Beyond a certain price point, it's very difficult to make the purchase and then expect like 50K watch to just land on your wrist. I don't know whether if that's your experience or not.
I think very much so. I think, well, we don't have any example here in Malaysia for now, right? But if you really look at it, to buy a high-ticket item, whether it's a watch, shoe, or even a handbag, right? Unless you know the product well enough, you know the brand well enough, and the most important of all is you trust the site you go to in order to chase this product, right? So unless you have all these three, it's very hard to actually buy something online of a price segment. Yeah.
So with this pandemic, there's so much uncertainty, right? We still don't know how it's going to pan out in the next 3 months to the end of the year. I mean, obviously, targets are going to be short term and ever changing. But if you would just venture a guess, how long you think it would take and what it would take for, watch retail to maybe not get back to what it was before, but get moving again. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think as it is, Malaysia has recovered a little bit better than some. But overall, if you look at it, from the beginning of the pandemic, there's always really been people talking that the retail industry in Malaysia will take probably 3 years to recover, right? Then moving on to, well, at first it was 1 year to recover, then we move on, then we progress to 2 years to recover, and then the lockdown went to the second month, it went all the way to 3 years to recovery, and then now that we are open back for business, I think business to a large extent will probably be looking at 2 years. Hopefully that we are able to get back to where we were. Hopefully, yeah.
Okay. Sorry, just one question from Clarence.
Please.
It's just
like this. You don't need any says.
All right, Alvin. Okay. Do you have any question? No.
No, sorry, Clarence. I can't. Maybe dropped off a bit. Clarence.
Yeah.
And what you would recommend? Clarence is in the watch trade, as we know. So
yeah.
Is he putting you in the spot?
I think SK might answer that with one of his favorite watches from 2020.
Before I tell you about the favorite watches eventually, I think that I have to qualify that a little bit. With the pandemic, I think a lot of major brands has also not released the watches this year.
Yeah.
In fact, has put off releasing new watches. So, but the watches that I've seen so far, right? I think the one of the more interesting one this year, of course, would be the Patek Philippe 6078. Right, the Calatrava that was made to commemorate the extension of the new factory. Right, is in stainless steel. I think it's something that is very interesting.
Right.
Yes, yeah. Patek don't make a lot of watches doesn't make a lot of watches in limited quantity, and this is one of them. So definitely, this is one of the more interesting watches this year.
And in steel as well. So steel Patek Philippe watches are quite rare. Yeah, on the market.
Yes.
Yeah, we did a video review on this, and yeah, the backstory is that they just sort of moved into a new manufacturer back in
2019. Yeah.
So, yeah. So before that, they actually had the last time they actually did something commemorative this way was when they first opened the manufacturer, if I'm not wrong. So there are two watches, and then this is the most recent one. This is a very young looking Patek Philippe, I must say.
Yes, it is. It is. I think it does appeal to a larger market, larger audience. Yes.
Yeah.
I think this is also the first Calatrava in stainless steel, right?
Well, if you minus out the Calatrava pilot watch, the 734.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Okay. You have some more you want to share, SK?
Yeah. Of course, I can't leave the second watch that most interesting. I think the Hublot Integral. I think what is more interesting is that the design of the watch in itself. I think to a lot of people, when they see this particular watch, it looks very much similar to a Hublot that you probably see in the boutiques. But what they don't realize is that to make this watch, Hublot took quite a number of years to actually come up with this design. And it's not just about having a watch and then you put the bracelet on it, but basically this watch was designed entirely, with the bracelet in mind, all together in one. Right. So conceptually, it is a new watch, but it is able to retain the Hublot DNA. Right, with the sandwich case, with the screw, the H screws on the bezel. So this is something uniquely to Hublot. While you don't see a lot of differentiation at first glance, but in reality, this was designed from ground up. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, and of course, you can't leave out the Tudor Black Bay 58 navy blue. I think this is also one of the most exciting watch we have seen so far. It has created a lot of hype and buzz in the market. When pre-launch, there's also a lot of forums been talking about, what kind of designs they will be coming up with. After the success of the BB 58 Black, everybody was trying to think, what is the next variation of the Black Bay is going to be, right? And there was really definitely a lot of hype. And while the different variations that you've seen online may be a bit different, but when you are able to see this watch in the real and be able to put it on your wrist, I think a lot of people will just fall in love with it.
I hear there's a waiting list in Singapore already. What's it like in Malaysia?
Oh, same.
Same.
The waiting list is getting longer by the day. At 5.9mm, and some may feel that it is a bit small, but when you put it on your wrist and the way it fits on it, I think it's just perfect. Yeah.
What is the recommended retail price for this?
This one is, if I don't remember wrongly, is about approximate 14 to 15,000 ringgit. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The Black Bay really has a very good run so far.
It's still running.
Yeah.
As a definitely a lot of interest. in that particular collection. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the size is perfect actually, because in early days, all the watches about this, on average, it's all about that size. Yeah. Don't you
Yes,
think
correct.
It's a very unisex size. We've also done a video
Yeah.
review on this watch,
Right.
and I tried it on my wrist, and my wrist is actually pretty small, but it kind of looks okay on it. So I think it's a good unisex size.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a very good fit for ours.
Yeah. Well, surprising I found it was that it's so light actually on the wrist,
Yes.
With
so
the fabric strap, right?
Yeah,
Is
the
it?
fabric strap
Mm.
Yeah.
that helps.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. SK, thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us on our first live chat from Malaysia. Yeah.
Well, my pleasure. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for staying
Appreciate
so
it.
late in the boutique
Yeah.
just to talk to us.
Not a problem, player.
Yeah, just for context, SK is actually still at the boutique. Lot of stuff is left and taking time off to talk to us. So we appreciate your time, SK.
Yes,
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
thank you so
Thank
much.
Right. Thank you all the viewers for staying with us if you're still here and for listening in tuning in.
Yeah.
See you at the next chat.
Have a good weekend, guys.
Yeah. Have a good weekend. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Night.